On this week's edition of the Big Eyes podcast, we talk about can Kirishima step up to the plate on the latest episode of My Hero Academia. We see a beautiful fight scene in the latest episode of Fire Force. And also, the Heroes Association back is against the wall in the latest chapter of One Punch Man. All of this on episode 5 of the Big Eyes podcast. Welcome back. Thank you, man, tuning back in. Last week I was out with the flu, so very happy to be back. Very happy to be talking about anime, and this week we're actually going to talk about episodes. So we're gonna kick it off with My Hero Academia episode 79, episode that was liked by a lot of people. So right now they're on season 4. Season 4 is focusing on the Overhaul arc. So they are fighting a villain named Overhaul, who is a current leader in the Top Yakuza gang, and they are planning to stop him from making quirk erasing bullets and to save a young girl named Eri, who he is making. She's using her body to make the bullets. So it's some heavy stuff. Right now where they're at is the hero agencies have just now infiltrated his lair, and they are planning to go in and stop Overhaul and save Eri. Last week we had a really good episode that focused on actually one of the big three, Sun Eater, and it did a really good job of highlighting him. He has actually kind of a tight quirk, and I really enjoyed last week's episode, but we saw Sun Eater have his shining moment, and now this week we are jumping back into Red Riot, who has had a pretty, who has had a highlight moment already this season, on which we saw his unbreakable form, which was really cool. And if you saw it in the manga before, I know you were excited to see it, on live, on the screen this time. But they have infiltrated the lair, and him and Fat Gum are in a battle between Rappa and Tengai, who are 2 of the 8 bullets for Overhaul. So part of his gang, one of his top guys, and you see them in a sword and shield battle. So Rappa has a quirk called Strong Arm, which pretty much allows him to punch at an unbelievable rate, at unbelievable power, and Tengai has a power to create force fields. So it kicks off with Rappa attacking Fat Gum and Red Riot jumping in the way, Kirishima jumping in the way, using his hardened skin, but he is immediately knocked out, and he is immediately taken out of the battle, and you actually see his skin crack. And this is the first time he's ever, experienced something like this. And it really messes with him mentally. As you can see, as he is laid out on the floor, like he was, he really took him out the game. And with that, Fat Gum was left by himself to fight these 2 guys. And so Fat Gum, who is currently in a losing battle against Rappa, who is attacking him nonstop. Fat Gum is now resorting to pretty much his ace in the hole, his secret move. And while he is storing that up, we get into Kirishima and we get into his backstory. And when you look at his backstory, which is pretty cool that, My Hero does a good job of anyways, is highlighting its supporting characters, and really giving them moments to where you get deep into who they are and what they, and what makes them the hero that they are. So you go into his backstory and you see a moment from when he was in junior high where he saw some girls being harassed, and instead of running to go help them, he kind of stayed stuck and he didn't know what to do. Like the fear took over his body, and he didn't know how to. He didn't run in to go help them, and it really messed with him mentally because it made him feel less of a man, and it made him feel less of a hero. And he looked up to the current hero that he looked up to was a hero named Crimson Riot, which he pretty much bases himself off of because they have very similar quirks. So he feels that he kind of let his hero down. He feels that, oh my God, like this is a guy that I looked up to. This is a guy that I, model myself after, but I can't even live up to his standards because, fear has taken over my body. Fear has taken over me being able to help others. And in his anger, he kind of throws something and it knocks down this little video that plays an interview of Crimson Riot, his hero, who talks about him being fearful and him being scared of, doing the job that he does every day, which is be a hero. And it kind of switches something for Kirishima to know that, you can be a hero, you can still be afraid, but you still jump in even if you feel that, fear. And you kind of get this backstory of Kirishima and what made him into, the hero that he is today and what his basis of a hero is. So you see him finally get up and use his body and goes unbreakable to take Rappa's punches so that Fat Gum could finish storing up his ultimate move, which pretty much he takes the damage that he was taking to his body and he was just storing that damage and was going to release it in one punch. And when Kirishima finally, gets back up, he jumps back into the fight. You see him give Fat Gum a chance to unleash that move, which breaks the force field that Tengai was creating and punches him and Rappa and knocks them unconscious. Once again, My Hero does a really great job of highlighting these characters. And in a lot of animes, you see they get so, they invest so much into the main character that it makes it really hard for other characters to get a moment. I think we've talked about this before with like Dragon Ball Z, where Goku, they invest so much into Goku that it's hard for someone else to really be the hero. And you see that sometimes, and it happens, whatever. But My Hero does a good job of like kind of letting everyone have a shining moment, and I thoroughly appreciate that. But no, this episode was really dope, and I've seen a lot of praise for it, which is really cool because it really was a really good episode. I mean, past two episodes have been really good. I like the Sun Eater episode was really dope, and his quirk is dope. Like to be able to, think like to be able to use the power of something that you eat, or like be able to manifest that is a dope thing that they did. So, super great episode, super cool episode. Next up, man, Fire Force episode 21. So, I recently started Fire Force and I kind of binged it to get caught up, and I enjoy it. I think it's really good, and that's okay for it to not be great though. I think we get caught up sometimes of if things are either mid or they're great, and that nothing could ever be like just good, or just a really good show. And that's what I think Fire Force is. Fire Force is a really good show. I do not see it as something super top tier, but I do not also see it as something that is, is weak. It's not. It's a solid, really good show that that's pretty entertaining. So if you have not seen Fire Force is about a special unit of pretty much firefighters that are called the Fire Force that fight things called infernals, which are spontaneous human combustions. And it follows this young kid named Shinra who joins Fire Force Company 8, and they attempt to find the hidden truth, but the hidden truth behind infernals, and Shinra is attempting to find the truth behind his the mysterious fire that killed his family. And so episode 21, you actually get a lot of backstory. So there is a group called the Evangelists who are now known to be behind a lot of the infernals that are happening. So a lot of the human combustion was actually happening because of a group called the Evangelists, and they are now, Fire Force Company 8. They are now in their lair. They're attacking them, and there is a battle between the captain of the Fire Force, Obi, and one of the members of the Evangelists called Dr. Giovanni. And during this battle, Dr. Giovanni kind of spills the beans on what's really going on. So you figure out that the Evangelists, their whole goal is to eliminate people who cannot handle being blessed with fire abilities. So there are people who are blessed with abilities to handle the fire, to create fire, and have powers based on it, and there are others who just burn up and can't handle it. And so what they're pretty much is they're trying to wipe out the people who cannot handle the fire, and they are starting these they are hand creating these infernal attacks using these fire bugs, and with that they're pretty much weeding out the people who can't. And the people who can handle the fire, they're keeping them, they're recruiting them, and they're going to try to restart the world. Pretty much. And you figure out that Shinra and his brother named Sho, they both have a special fire called an Adola Burst. And an Adola Burst is really what creates the Infernals, and the Adola Burst is the reason why there are Infernals. But Sho and Shinra are able to pretty much control that power, which makes them pretty much light years ahead in terms of other pyrotechnics and other people who have the power of of fire and whatnot. So you figure that out, and it gives a good backstory of just what it's all about. And so Shinra's brother Sho, Shinra thought he was dead for a very long time, to figure out though that Sho has been alive, and actually he is now the leader of the Evangelist, and so these two are linked by their Adola Burst. And so the closer they get together, the more powerful they become. And Shinra's main goal is, I just want my brother back. I'm just trying to save my brother. And you get this moment where Shinra and Sho they're both connected by this Adola Burst, and the closer they get, you can see the more it's evident that this link is getting stronger between them. So they finally meet, and Fire Force gives me one of the best fight scenes I have seen in a while. It was beautiful. So they finally meet, and Shinra's like, man, I don't want to fight. I just want to get my little brother back. Let's go. Let's get out of here. Let's restart our lives together. And Sho is pretty much like, no, why? These people are weak. These people, we need to restart this world and make it better, make it stronger and whatnot. And with that, Sho ends up disrespecting their mother, and Shinra does not take kindly to that, and he attacks him. And so they begin to fight, and how they started off is, they do that thing where they're fighting really fast to the point where the regular human can't see them. But how they're doing it and showing it is they are making the fire footprints, and it looks like this dance, and they're just you see the footprints, and they're moving. You can't actually see them fighting, but you just see the footprints, and it looks so tight, how they're doing it. It looks like they're waltzing, and how they're showing these these footprints, and it was such a dope scene. And you see they're fighting, and it looks like they are on the same level. But then there's this moment where Sho actually releases how strong he really is, and he stops like time pretty much. Like he moves so fast that he's stopping time, and there are these like fire feathers are falling down, and Shinra is stuck mid move, and you see him, he's frozen in time, and Sho is just slowly moving towards him and knocks him against the wall, using his sword. And how they're like showing this is just so dope, of the fire feathers falling down, and how like Shinra is just stuck in midair, and after he does his move, like the steam that's coming off Sho because he's using so much heat, he's using so much fire, and he tells him like, me and you are on two completely different universes. And Shinra is confused by him saying this, and he's like, what are you talking about? Different universe. Like, what are you talking about? Me and you are on a different universe. And Sho pretty much takes him to this different realm, that is it's like it's a different realm, it's a different world. Look, and everything's like on fire, and the episodes ends with them two standing off in this different world. It kind of looks like a demon world, and that's where the episode ends off. But that scene of them fighting, man, was so dope. Like, it was such a dope scene. It's like the little things for me. It's like, sometimes you see this, like, especially when they do the whole, like, these guys are faster than, what the regular human eye can see. And sometimes they do the little light flashes and, like, the bangs. But, like, the footprints in the ground of, like, them being on fire. And, when Sho finally releases his power, of, like, how they stop time, and how, like, the feather, like, it is really dope, man. It's a really great scene. But that was Fire Force episode 21. Once again, if you have not started Fire Force, definitely start it. This episode also, like, you can see how this show is a little bit inspired. You can definitely tell it's inspired by Full Metal Alchemist, Brotherhood. You can just tell. So even like some of the storyline stuff of, the brothers with, like, the reason why they're fighting, their mom dying, like, it's kind of like more like blatant stuff like that. But there's also just, like, I don't know, there's a few things that you can just really tell that is definitely inspired by Full Metal Alchemist, which is cool. Because Full Metal Alchemist is a top 5 anime, and we can argue about that if you do not agree with me, but you could definitely tell the influence it has on this, especially even with, like, just the overlying arc of just, like, right now them finding this bigger group, the Evangelists, and it's really cool. It's so if you have not started Fire Force, definitely start it. They're on episode 21 right now. It's the first season. There's 24 episodes, so 3 more until the season is done. So, but definitely take some time to, check it out if you do. Lastly, let's do a chapter this week, and we're gonna talk about One Punch Man chapter 110, which was, so last time we left off, we see this battle between Black and Atomic Samurai, and when it ended, he was in this tight position where he did not know how he was going to defeat Black. Once again, if you remember, Black's powers is that he could pretty much create infinite cells of him. So it's for a person whose power, as Atomic Samurai, is to cut things up. This is a bad matchup, because the more he cuts him up, the more copies of himself he makes. So pretty much you see Atomic Samurai accept the fact that he is in a tight position right now, and that he is currently outmatched, and with that, he attempts to escape, it seems like, but really he was trying to give himself enough space to unleash a special attack that he had been saving, which was called Concentrated Atomic Slash, which was more powerful than the last slash that he used, and he pretty much he turns Black into dust, or the copies into dust, and he thinks that, okay, I finally won, I finally done it. So he jumps out of this hole, and when he jumps out of the hole, you see that Black was actually hiding his main body the whole time, and he is charged up an attack. And as soon as Atomic Samurai gets out of the hole, he tries to attack. He tries to quickly unleash the same move, but it's too late. He only releases he can't release it in time. He takes this punch, and Black is pretty much just like, I'm pretty like, Black's like, I am completely outmatched you in terms of your skill isn't a good matchup for mine. It's water fire pretty much. But Tommy Samurai, thinking quickly on his feet, he cuts the ceiling down. He's pretty much like, all right, well, if I can't kill you, I can at least lock you up or complete. So he has to actually slash the ceiling. The rocks fall down, and when the rocks fall down, we quickly cut to a scene where we see Zombie, and he's one of the Class S heroes, and he's like, man, like, what's going on, and as he's walking, a villain from the villains or the Monsters Association pops up, and his name is the Homeless Emperor, and the names in One Punch Man are really funny. They definitely, man, like One Punch Man, I feel, is built on humor anyways, and they just do a good job of just like letting little things be funny. Like the Homeless Emperor is a funny, that's just a little weird name, but Zombie runs into the monster, the Homeless Emperor, who has this power of like creating these explosions, and you just see him pretty much is decimating Zombie Man, and Zombie Man can't die. So even when he's exploding him and doing all this, he's regenerating, but he's doing it, he's getting destroyed at such an alarming rate where it definitely looks like he's in trouble, and it kind of ends with him attempting to attack the Homeless Emperor, and his attack being deflected, and Homeless Emperor releasing a powerful bomb and exploding him to dust. And that's how the chapter ends, and you just kind of see both heroes, with their backs against the wall right now, and the Heroes Association with their back against the wall. So yeah, a good chapter from One Punch Man. I think though that right now with the current art that they're doing, they're reaching drag on territory. It's just a really long arc. Like they're doing this. I feel they're doing this thing where it's like they keep putting up these, like, oh man, like these heroes are in this really bad predicament, or this really bad matchup. Like, how are they gonna do it? Like, they be kind of regurgitating that a little bit. So, it's I wonder where they're gonna head from here. They definitely have been. This arc's been going on for a minute now, but overall though, it was a good chapter, and it is cool to see like the other heroes, and see what's gonna happen next for Zombie Man, who's had a moment before. We've seen him in battle before during this arc, so it's cool to see him have another one-on-one battle. But they have definitely been this has definitely reached drag on territory. So we'll see what happens next. But man, this will wrap up episode 5 of the Big Eyes podcast. Thank you so much again for tuning in. I'm happy to be back next week. Very special episode. So yeah, man, follow us at RNC Radio Live. Follow me at Jamal SLM on Twitter, and Straw Hat LJ on Instagram. Once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Stay Plus Ultra.